My favorite part about Jepson is the faculty, because I don't think there's a single person in Jepson that I haven't been able to rely on throughout my 4 years here. They're really good people, and I'm gonna miss them.
My favorite thing about the Jepson School is how unique and important the classes are. I would say I not only have met with change makers and authors and policymakers, but I'm able to learn how my actions will be impacting everyone else.
I came to the University of Richmond because of the Jepson School, and at the Jepson School I found a community.
Each professor has a unique perspective because of their academic background, and they offer very niche classes that you can't get anywhere else, like serial killers or cults and sex, power, and politics. And it completely changes how you understand leadership as a concept.
What I love most about the Jepson School is how versatile the degree is, and you can do anything that you could dream of with the degree, and how it brings together people with so many different perspectives and passions in life.
My favorite part of Jepson is how much each professor is excited about their subject and how much they want their students to learn.
And my favorite part is how many different subjects there are and how you can learn about leadership in a bunch of different contexts.
I get a mix of everything in that business world that I'm trying to pursue post-college, and then I also get the sense of leadership and the essentials to leadership within a group and a team culture.
I love how Jepson has provided me a range of skill sets that you can't get anywhere else. For example, psychology provides me with the hard skills of understanding people, whereas leadership studies provides me with the soft skills of understanding and working with people.
From all the things that we learn here, it also teaches us how to be good people.
I love Jepson because of the diversity of classes, and it really allows professors and students to exhibit their passions and interests.
I love the networking in Jepson with my professors, classmates, and guest speakers because it's helped me make lifelong relationships.
I love the opportunities I've had, such as special funding through the Jepson School for internships and research, as well as top pick for some really interesting classes and perspectives I've gotten to see here.
There's so much to love about Jepson, but what I really appreciate most is that the school encourages professors to create close-knit relationships with their students, and I believe that I've found mentors in the Jepson School that I will keep going forward and throughout my career.
I would say the class that challenged me the most and kind of gave me that aha moment was Dr. Brazaio's critical thinking class. Really pushed me to be a better thinker and form better arguments, and I love the way it challenged me.
Dr. Price's ethics class made me think differently about leadership. He made me think more about my own morals and how ethics isn't something that's so concretely defined and it's always changing.
My favorite class that I've taken at Jepson is Killers and Cults with Dr. Henley. We talked about how media has impacted our fascination with serial killers and how people are really impacted by stories that aren't ours.
My critical thinking class taught me to question things I've never questioned before and taught me how to defend my beliefs.
My Justice and Civil Society class with Dr. Coker. It really challenged me to think critically about the world around me and about my preconceived notions, and I think it really made me a better person.
My favorite Jepson class, or biggest aha moment, had to be in critical thinking, the ways in which we deconstructed arguments and looked at the logical flow and logical theory really helped me, especially in the LSATs and applying to law school.
Dr. Hidalgo's critical thinking class is very thought-provoking. I was able to construct and pick apart arguments.
I think the most important class I've taken at Jepson was leadership ethics. It was super interesting to learn about different philosophies and how they'll apply to different decisions that I'll make down the road in my life and career.
I think the Jepson class that really stood out to me was the elective, The Democratic Prospect, where we discussed the state of liberal democracy, not only in the US, but the world. Just made me think a lot about how important it is to be engaged, informed, and active citizens.
In my course, Ethical Decision Making in Healthcare with Dr. Flanagan, we've been forced to have really meaningful and challenging conversations about topics such as addiction and autonomy, and I think this will really help me in a career in healthcare.
In the class, The Rule and the Exception, we look at decision making from different lenses, psychological or legal or ethical. And that's one of the great things about Jepson is that you just get this kind of multi-dimensional approach to so many specific topics.
The class that has changed my thinking the most has been critical thinking with Dr. Price. We learned how to identify and avoid fallacies in our reasoning, and we also learned how to make convincing and reasonable arguments to lead. The most impactful class I've taken at Jepson is Ethical Decision Making in Healthcare. My classmates and I have been encouraged to tackle very controversial, sometimes uncomfortable issues. We've learned to come at it from a very understanding and open-minded perspective.
In Justice and Civil Society, I learned about disparities in wealth and education in Richmond, which inspired me to take Reimagining Richmond, where we as Jepson students learn how to tackle those disparities.
For my Jepson internship, I was an intern at the World Pediatric Project as a patient database intern, and I further developed my leadership skills by problem solving and communicating effectively with my supervisor despite being a remote intern.
I did my Jepson internship at Dive Consulting in Cape Town, South Africa, where I worked on an actual consulting project. I used my skills from the leadership school by helping to manage my team and talking with our client.
I worked at the Hodges Partnership, which is a PR firm in Richmond, Virginia, and I applied the leadership principles that I learned here with a variety of clients, anywhere from grocery stores to insurance companies.
I completed my Jepson internship as a research fellow for the University of Richmond Museums. I grappled a lot with the idea of the artist as a leader and how they portray identity in portraiture.
I did my internship at the Virginia Housing Alliance. I was their policy intern. And I think the leadership principles that really helped me the most was learning how to develop a really good leader-follower relationship and how important transparency and communication is in that process.
I did my Jepson internship at Warner Brothers Discovery. I used the critical thinking skills I learned at Jepson in my internship because I did a lot of independent work.
I interned at the Richmond Bridge Park Foundation, which is a nonprofit dedicated to addressing inequalities. I interned there to get more understanding of what group dynamics look like and what role I could play in addressing some of those problems we talked about in class.
I interned with Nestle, a women's health startup here in Richmond, Virginia, and through that internship, I gained insights into maternal health and wellness.
I completed my Jepson internship at a local Richmond TV news station, ABC 8 News. The leadership principle that I really got to apply there was deciding which news to produce that would be most beneficial and crucial to the local Richmond area as well as Central Virginia.
I completed my Jepson internship in Rahe, Finland, working in the wardrobe department for a feature film. I had to utilize my knowledge of group dynamics and the difference between working in a big group of people, such as a 35-person production crew, and then a small wardrobe department, which only consisted of 4 people.
I worked in the office of Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin as a governor's fellow working in the office of the Secretary of Transportation. I had the opportunity to help craft policy memos for both the governor and the secretary.
I completed my Jepson internship at the United Nations Information Center in Tokyo. I applied my leadership knowledge through examining how different cultural values and cultural standards affect the way in which leadership and followership relationships form.
For my senior thesis, I am looking at the effects of gender violence on an institutional level, including looking at cases of the Salem witch trials, feminicides happening in Mexico, and sexual assaults on college campuses.
My research is looking at consent-based practices and consent in the law during the progressive era and how that influences sexual violence on campuses today, and looking at care work as a solution to building a culture of consent.
So I'm researching how political polarization influences perception of scientific facts. As a biochemistry and leadership studies major, I've really enjoyed getting to look at specific scientific topics like GMOs, vaccines, climate change, and the pandemic through Jepson lenses.
I have had the pleasure to do a Jepson honors thesis on the top 10 baseball managers of all time. And through that thesis, I really got to enjoy going to the Baseball Hall of Fame to access their archives.
I have been diving into influencer marketing and specifically have been focusing on President Biden's campaign.
I'm currently working on my Jepson honors thesis, which is a comparative study between the NBA and the NFL. More specifically, I'm looking at how those organizations react to activism pertaining to race.
I've been conducting research on the history of true crime media, as well as conducting a survey about public opinion and stereotypes on true crime and serial killers, and seeing how they overlap with stereotypes on leaders and connect to leadership theories.
I am investigating the effect of sports participation on health outcomes for immigrant youth. As a student athlete, aspiring healthcare professional, and daughter of a first-generation immigrant, I wanted to combine my identities and everything I was passionate about into an impactful research project.
One thing I learned about leadership is that there's no right or wrong way to do it. I think coming into the Jepson School of Leadership Studies, I was a little worried that I didn't fit what it meant to be a leader. But one thing that I learned is that anyone can be a leader in whatever capacity that you hold and whatever abilities that you're able to share with those around you.
Something that I learned from leadership studies that's going to help me going forward is that there is no one-size-fits-all to leadership, especially when regarding leadership style. Depending on the group of people that you're working with or the environment you're in, leadership studies has really taught me that you need to adapt the way that you're leading or that leadership style to the group of people you're working with.
The Jepson School of Leadership taught me amazing critical thinking skills that I know I'll use for my entire life, and I also learned amazing leadership skills that I know I'll use in every step of my career.
I can see it in all parts of my life, whether it is on the field here at the field hockey team or in the Jepson School of Leadership. I've found that prioritizing leadership and all of its different styles will benefit me in the long run.
My Jepson education has taught me that there's complexities in any issue, and that even if I'm not in a leadership position nominally, I always have the opportunity to help affect change.
During my years at Jepson, I've learned how important it is to understand history in order to achieve effective leadership.
At the Jepson School, I've learned about inclusivity and intersectionality, and these tools will help me be a leader in the nonprofit field.
In all of my leadership classes, I've learned a lot about maintaining relationships both in the professional world and my personal life.
I am double majoring in leadership studies and business administration, and through Jepson, I have learned about group dynamic and how leaders emerge. This material has really helped me flourish in my business roles.
I've learned that leadership can take on many forms, and that you don't necessarily have to be the boss to take a leadership role.
After graduating from the University of Richmond, I will be working for Capital One in McLean, Virginia as a Human Resource Rotational Program Associate. I'm really excited to be able to apply my Leadership Studies degree, not only in the workplace, but also in the community so that I can be the change that I want to see in the world.
Following graduation, I am going to be an associate at Berkeley Research Group in Washington, D.C., doing healthcare litigation consulting, and I'm really excited about this opportunity because it's actually a return offer from my Jepson internship last summer.
After graduation, I will be traveling a lot to some different countries around the world before returning to Amazon, where I completed my Jepson internship as a technical recruiter.
After graduation, I'm going to be working for Russell Reynolds Associates as a research analyst in Dallas, Texas. This actually came about through my Jepson internship, which I found through a Richmond alum, and I'm really excited to get started in July.
I plan to work as a reporter covering public policy and governance, and I'm hoping to go back to grad school for public policy in the next few years.
I will be attending law school in the fall, hopefully pursuing a career in business litigation or intellectual property, specifically in the technology field. I don't know where yet, but hopefully with an answer by graduation.
After graduation, I'll be moving to New York City to work with Alpha Sites in consulting and doing environmental communication strategy.
After graduation, I will be working in sales and trading at Barclays in New York City, and then I hope to attend grad school, possibly pursue a PhD in behavioral finance, and then eventually become a professor at a university one day.
After graduation, I'll be moving to New York to work as a business analyst for New York Life Investments, which is where I completed my summer Jepson internship.
After graduation, I'm moving to Boston to work as a research analyst for a tech firm called Context Labs. This is where I completed my Jepson internship last summer, where I was given the opportunity to apply all the skills I learned at the Jepson School in the real world.